Today we're going to travel down Newfound Gap Road on Route 441 and cut a scenic path through the Smoky Mountain National Park. Welcome to Bear Facts, where we explore the Smoky Mountains one bear fact at a time. Navigating the Smoky Mountains for the first or even 100th time can be somewhat confusing, especially when you consider there are 384 miles of roads to navigate within the Smoky Mountain National Park. But really, even with all those miles of road, it's actually a pretty easy park to figure out. When I started this video, I was planning on quickly going over the main roads that lead in and through the park. But as these things go, I quickly realized how long a video it would have to be. So I decided to break this video into 3 parts. Each part will cover one of the main roads that make up the Smoky Mountains. We will talk about what to expect when driving these roads and highlight attractions you will encounter on your travels. The series will cover 441 Newfound Gap Road, the Little Gorge Road, and Roaring Forks. Today's video will be about Route 441, which is also referred to as Newfound Gap Road. This road starts in Gatlinburg and cuts through the park, taking travelers to Cherokee, North Carolina. This road is rich in history and offers some of the most breathtaking views in the region. The stretch between Gatlinburg and Cherokee is about 35 miles long and is the most traveled road in the entire Smoky Mountains. Just keep in mind that it isn't a loop road, which will get you back to Gatlinburg. Though you can take an alternative route back to Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg, most people just turn around and take 441 back, making it a 70-mile trek if you're willing to tough it out. 441 is ideal for people who want to take in the sights, but not so much if you just want to get to Cherokee quickly. It is a very windy road that averages 35 miles an hour. This road isn't designed for high speeds. Though occasionally you will see a few large trucks, the bulk of the traffic is tourist and park visitors. However, it is big enough for most size RVs, as well as being well maintained. But like any road, it does get dangerous. So, here are a few tips to keep in mind before you travel the Newfound Gap Road. First of all, the 2 biggest dangers you will face on this road are other motorists and weather. This is a very safe road if you keep to the speed limit and stay alert. Aggressive or unaware drivers are the leading cause of deaths in the Smoky Mountains. Also, make sure you have good brakes. The road from Gatlinburg starts at 1,300 feet elevation and goes through Newfound Gap at 5,000 feet, then goes back to 1,300 feet elevation in Cherokee. To mitigate the elevation changes and leave little impact in the mountains, the engineers tried to follow the contours of the mountains, adding many switchbacks and sharp curves for 35 miles, which means a lot of downhill braking. We often put the car in 3rd or 4th gear to save our brakes when going downhill. But hills, sharp turns, steep cliffs, and other motorists aren't the only dangers to travelers on Newfound Gap Road. There is also the weather. Because of unpredictability of weather in the mountains, it often gets shut down for high winds, snow, and ice. And don't think that since it's 50 and raining in Gatlinburg that the roads in the mountains will be just fine. We have been on 441 when it was 60 degrees in Gatlinburg, but just drove a few miles into the park and things got bad, very bad. It also happens suddenly and the road conditions can deteriorate rapidly. When this happens, the park will shut the roads down. If park officials can't keep up with the roads and feel that conditions are bad enough, they will close all of 441 from Sugarland Visitor Center to Cherokee, allowing only leaving park guests access to the road until they can get the conditions under control, which could take days. Once winter hits, keep an eye on the NPS website. This site will let visitors know when any trails or roads are closed. I left a link in the description for this resource. Though they will try very hard to keep the roads open, ice is a major scare factor. The roads are very windy, and people who are not accustomed to snow and ice can be more dangerous than the actual ice. The park has plows and will use cinder to maintain the roads, but unlike salt, cinder isn't as good at clearing the roads. Just be aware that with the sharp and sudden turns, high cliffs, and steep elevation changes, traveling this road can get very dangerous in the winter. Summer, fall, and late spring usually are going to be the safest times of the year to travel in the mountains. But the roads can get closed even in summer due to falling trees, landslides, motor vehicle accidents, or high winds. But for the most part, it is a safe and easy road to navigate. Just use common sense and look for weather alerts before traveling. Another big thing to be aware of is that the Smoky Mountain National Park has little to no cell phone reception. In this day and age, this can be very disconcerting if you're using your cell phone as a main navigation tool. If this is the case, you might want to download offline maps to Google or Maps. Or do what they did in the Stone Ages, have a real paper map in your car. Ugh, those things were terrible. The good thing is that it is a highly populated road, and if you have a breakdown or need help, there are often other people who can help out, and there are park officials keeping an eye out for guests in need. The last thing I will talk about before we head into the park is to address the parking tags. In 2023, the park initiated a new parking pass law for park visitors. Anyone traveling with motor vehicles, planning on leaving their vehicles, and parking for more than 15 minutes at a time will need a parking tag. However, if you're just driving through the park or plan on staying with your vehicle, you do not need a parking tag. If you do need a tag, you can purchase your tag from any of the large visitor centers, and a few other attractions have the machine at their parking lots. A single day tag will cost $5, a week tag is $15, and an annual pass will cost $40. These tags can be purchased at any of the National Park Visitor Centers, parking lot machines, or online. And the machines do take credit cards. There are a select few days of the year where visitors do not need a tag. The dates on the screen reflect the holidays and dates for the 2024 season. Okay, so let's talk about how you get onto the Newfound Gap part of 441. From Tennessee, there are two ways to get onto Newfound Gap Road. The first is going to be the most ideal, especially if you're coming from Pigeon Forge. The entrance to the park can be found just after you pass the Gatlinburg Visitor Center from the spur. The spur, for those who aren't familiar with the area, is a stretch of road that connects Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg. This is where you can find the Parkway Bypass, which leads you to the park. This bypass will help you save time by letting you bypass Gatlinburg, which can be very congested. This route will take you directly into the park and to the Sugarland Visitor Center. The bypass also has some spectacular views of Gatlinburg and the surrounding area, so not only is it a faster route into the park, but you get some great views as well. The other way into Newfound Gap Road is right from Gatlinburg. Most people who take this route are coming from Gatlinburg, and it's the easiest way into the park for them. It's also very busy, congested area with high traffic and can cause long delays. But by taking this route to get to Newfound Gap Road, you get to see Gatlinburg, stop and get gas before entering the park, and get a photo at the Smoky Mountain National Park sign, which is a favorite pastime for most visitors. Once you've made it to 441, and the first and really only intersection will be at the Sugarland Visitor Center, this is where the Newfound Gap part of 441 really starts. But before heading down the road, you might want to stop and actually visit the center. You'll find clean and well-maintained bathrooms, park officials who can help answer questions, a small souvenir shop, an actual exhibit of the wildlife in the area, and you can purchase a parking tag here as well. Also, if you want to stretch your legs and take a short hike, behind the Sugarland Visitor Center is a trail that will take guests to the Cataract Falls. The walk to the falls is 1 mile out and back, and it's rated as an easy walk, but it is not paved. The falls are small, but it's something to see. Sugarlands Visitor Center is where the Newfound Gap Road actually begins, though let's be honest, it's still really 441. When you reach Sugarlands, just keep left. If you go to the right at the intersection, you'll be heading towards Cades Cove and Townsend. To the left is Cherokee. These roads do not intersect or reconnect, so make sure you take the correct path or you will need to backtrack a long way. Most people would argue that all of 441 is fantastic, but there are a few highlights that I will cover. Just beware that the average time to travel to Cherokee is an hour, and that's without breaks. This road can easily take you an entire day to see and enjoy. And that's with just stopping and looking from your car. If you plan on any hikes, then plan on a few trips to this road because there are a lot of hiking trails you can find on it. Past the Sugarland Visitor Center, you will find many quiet walkways. These are trails that are often at the lower elevations and tend to be easier trails. Many park guests enjoy them because they tend to be less popular and are, well, quieter. There is no way to cover all the trails and passes you can encounter on 441 in one short video, but I will point out a few, such as the Husky Gap Trail. This trail is right after you leave Sugarlands, and it's about a 9-mile scenic trail that has a 2,000-foot elevation gain. This is rated as moderate to challenging hike and will take anywhere between 4 and 8 hours to finish. Past the Husky Trail is the first official overlook, the Carl C. Campbell Overlook. Park has done an amazing job of providing pull-offs and parking areas for most of the best viewing areas from the road. Please remember that these pull-offs are for your safety and that of other guests, and should be used when you want to stop. Don't be one of those people who just stop in the middle of the road. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox and stop lecturing people on how to use common sense and get back to our travels. Hush, Oliver, I've only done that once or twice. Shh, they don't need to know. Once you pass the Campbell Overlook, you can start seeing glimpses of the Chimney Tops. The Chimney Tops are one of the most recognized mountains in the Smokies. Their distinctive outline and sharp contours make them very identifiable. As you approach them, you have a few different places that have pullovers that guests can use to photograph and enjoy. They are really cool to see from below and above. On your way to the Chimney Tops trailhead, you will pass the Chimney Tops picnic area, which sits at the base of the mountains. This area is very popular with tourists and locals alike. It's a picnic area and it's open from dusk to dawn, and it is a perfect place to spend a few hours. There is a decent-sized parking area in this section of the park, and they have public restrooms. Park guests can have a cookout, splash around the water, and hike up and around the trails nearby. This area is very well known for their wildflowers in the early spring. But one of the favorite pastimes for most people here is rock hopping. When you approach the water, you'll see massive glacier rocks jutting from the water. The rocks are so big and close together that they make the perfect obstacle course to challenge your balancing and coordination, as well as see how far you can go before you have to turn around because you miscalculated. After you leave the Chimney Tops picnic area, there is a stretch of road that has sharp switchbacks as you ascend the elevation. You will encounter your first tunnel as you pass this area. Some people like to honk their horns as they go through the tunnel, so if someone does that as you pass, just be aware that it's a Smoky Mountain tradition and they're not mad at you for anything. It's just a weird thing they do. The actual Chimney Tops trailhead is a few miles past the picnic area. This area can get very congested and hard to find parking, as it's a popular trail in the park and because it's one of the shorter hikes. The trail to the top of Chimney Tops is 3.5 miles long and has a 1,200-foot elevation gain. I've done a video on this trail, which I will leave a link in the description if you want more information. After you pass the Chimney Tops, the road will follow the river for a short stretch until you see the Allum Cave trails. You can find a rest stop at this trailhead, but keep in mind it is a very popular trail. Because parking can be challenging, many guests park in areas that are not designated for parking. With a parking tag, guests can park in any area that is paved or marked for parking. If you park outside the appropriate areas, you can be ticketed. So if you choose to make your own spot, be aware that the tag won't save you from a ticket. The Allum Cave Buff Trail is 4.5 miles and takes guests to the Peregrine Peak. It really isn't a cave, but the mountain structure has a massive overhang and is just plain cool to see in person. This can be a challenging hike and can take between 2 to 5 hours. There is an 1100 elevation gain. There are many spectacular views of the mountains from this trail as well. If you want a real challenge, keep moving past the buffs and head up to Mount LeConte. At the top of this trail is an actual park resort where people can rent small cabins overnight. The only way in and out is with foot or hoof, as the resort uses mules to transport supplies back and forth. From the parking lot to the resort is an 11-mile, 3,000-foot elevation gain hike. The views are breathtaking, not only because you're exhausted by the time you get there, but it's just amazing to see. This trail will get shut down as winter moves in and can be extremely dangerous. If you want to take this hike in the early spring or winter, be prepared with hiking cleats and layer up. After you pass the Allum Cave area, there are many other pullovers to stop and photograph or enjoy. Ben Morton is just one of the popular vistas and overlooks you will see along 441. Morton Overlook offers a sweeping vista of the mountains and valleys. It's an ideal place for photography and relaxation. Ben Morton is particularly amazing during the fall, as you can see the colorful changes of leaves, and many people enjoy watching the sunset from here. Newfound Gap is actually named because it leads to one of the most popular overlooks in the park, the Newfound Gap Overlook. This is the highest drivable pass through the Smoky Mountains and sits at an elevation of 5,046 feet. This site offers panoramic views and marks the state line between Tennessee and North Carolina. It's also the starting point for those hiking the Appalachian Trail. There is a bathroom rest area at this stopping point. Right as you pass the Newfound Gap is the road that takes you to Clingman's Dome. I won't go into full details about this attraction, but you can look at my video on it for more information. I left a link in the description. You will take a 7-mile detour from Highway 441 to actually get to Clingman's Dome. Here you'll be able to access the highest points in the Smokies at 6,643 feet. There is an observation tower at the summit that provides a 360-degree views of the surrounding mountains. There is a half-mile fully paved trail to the observation platform. Just be aware that you will be walking another 340 feet elevation, so take water. Also, be aware that if you have asthma or breathing issues, the elevation might provide a challenge. I promise you, the views are worth the detour and the hike. Also, Clingman's Dome offers some of the best sunsets in the Smoky Mountains. Now, some people might choose to turn around at this point and head back, but if you are all in, then you can still enjoy a lot more views and things on the other side of the mountain. I personally feel that the other side of 441 as you head into Cherokee has the best views. If you decide to keep going after leaving Clingman's, take a right and keep a lookout for these other notable overlooks. Luti Overlook and Charles Webb are just two more amazing stops, but I really love the Swinging Bridge Trail viewing area from the highway. The Swinging Bridge Trail is a great 1.5-mile trail off of 441. They have a parking area and you can see some nice vistas, especially in the winter. But if you want a really great view without the hike, drive past this parking area to the next one. There is a short walkway bridge that park guests can travel that takes you to a viewing platform that isn't accessible, well, safely from the road. It really is an amazing vista, especially in the fall. Now, if you've made it this far, then you might as well make it the rest of the way to Cherokee. As you get to the end of Newfound Gap, part of 441, you will end up at Cherokee and then Bryson City. Before you get to Cherokee, there are two more highly popular stops. One is MinGa Mills, which is an 1800s grist mill that guests can tour and see up close. I'll leave a link in the description to tell you more about that if you're interested. And after that, there is the last real stop off of 441 Newfound Gap Road, which is the Akanalufta Visitor Center. The Akanalufti Visitor Center is extremely popular. This visitor center provides exhibits of the cultural history of the area and is a gateway to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park in North Carolina. Adjacent to the visitor center is the Mountain Farm Museum, an outdoor collection of historic log buildings preserved from the surrounding area. The museum showcases 19th century farm life with structures such as a farmhouse, barn, apple house, and a working blacksmith shop. Visitors can get a sense of what life was like for early settlers in the Smokies. This part of 441 is also popular for the elk viewing opportunities. Elk were reintroduced in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park in 2001 after being absent from the area for over 150 years due to overhunting and habitat loss. The reintroduction program has been highly successful, and the Akanalufti area has become one of the best places in the park for viewing these majestic animals. Just as you pass the MinGa Mills, there are many different fields that elk can be spotted during the early mornings and evenings. Though the early mornings and evenings are the ideal time to spot them, they have been known to be seen grazing at all different times of the day. Though, just remember that even though the elk have actual collars, they're still considered wildlife and should be given the space and respect any wildlife should be given. Driving down Newfound Gap is more than just a route between two destinations. It's an integral part of the Smoky Mountain experience. The changing views, the chance to explore different stops, and the opportunity to take in scenery from a new perspective make the drive just as rewarding on the way back as on the way there. Whether you're descending into the lush valleys of North Carolina or heading back to the lively town of Gatlinburg, the road offers a continuous connection with the natural world and will stay with you long after the drive is over. At the time of this film's production and release, we are a nonprofit channel, which allows us to share our information about the Smoky Mountain National Park. I hope this video helps you plan your visit to the Smokies. You're getting an honest review from our personal experiences, but facts and things change, so please keep us in the loop if you're learning anything new and want to share your experiences in the comments. Thanks again for visiting us at Bear Facts of the Smoky Mountains. Please click that like button and subscribe to our channel.